because these machines are not cheap. You want to get your money's worth. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a speed test between the Cricut Explore 2 and the Siser Juliet. So I've had the Juliet for over a year, and one of the first things that I noticed was how fast it was. I first tried it out and I was like, wait, this seems to be a little bit faster than the Cricut. I'm like, is it? But I never got around to actually testing if it was faster or not until now. So I'm going to be testing out 5 different materials just to see how each machine corresponds to different materials. And the materials that I'm going to be testing out are regular HTV, glitter HTV, adhesive vinyl, printable iron-on transfer paper, and rhinestone flock. So we shall see if the type of material actually makes a difference on whether one machine is going to be faster than the other or if they're the same. So besides doing the speed test, I'm also going to compare how they cut. So after everything is cut, I'm going to weed it and then I'm going to compare the two and see if there's actually a difference with the way it cut the material. Is it going to be the same? Is it not? We shall see. So if you're curious to see which machine is faster and if they cut the same, then let's get started. So we're starting with the regular HTV, and this one is from HTV Ront. And for the Cricut Explore, I use the Everyday Iron-On cut setting. And for the Siser Juliet, I use the Easy Weed HTV cut setting. And this design right here was definitely the main test because it had a lot going on, so the machines had a lot to cut, and they definitely took longer than the rest. So for the Siser, this one took 3 minutes and 7 seconds to finish, and the Cricut took 5 minutes and 39 seconds to finish. Dude, that's a whole 2 minutes later, so for sure the Siser won in this one. Now on to the glitter HTV, and this one is from Cricut. Now for the Cricut Explore, I use the glitter iron-on cut setting, and for the Siser Juliet, I use the glitter HTV cut setting. And for this, it was definitely way faster than the previous one because the design was less intense. So for this one, Siser took 1 minute and 39 seconds to finish, and the Cricut took 3 minutes and 11 seconds to finish. Dude, that's almost double the amount of the Siser. So once again, Siser takes this round, so we have 2-0. Next, we have adhesive vinyl, and this one is the Oracle 651. For the Explorer, I use the premium vinyl cut setting, and for the Juliet, I use the Starling PSV cut setting. This design wasn't as intense, so it was a little bit faster. So the Siser took 46 seconds to finish, and the Cricut took 1 minute and 23 seconds to finish. That's almost double the amount of time. So once again, we have 3-0. Is Cricut gonna step up? We shall see. Now on to the inkjet transfer paper. So for this one, I use the Siser Easy Color DTV. So for the Cricut, I use the Vinyl Plus cut setting. And for the Siser, I use the custom setting, and I did 10 for both force and speed. And since these are print and cut, the machines obviously have to read the register marks. So for the Siser Juliet, the machine took 11 seconds to start cutting, and the Cricut Explore took 51 seconds to start cutting. So that's a big old difference. So that's like 5 times more that Cricut took to actually start cutting. So now from start to finish, Siser took 1 minute and 22 seconds, and the Cricut took 3 minutes and 37 seconds. So that's more than double the amount of the Siser. Like, I don't know if it's because it's print and cut or what, but that's crazy. Now on to the last one, which is the rhinestone flock, and this one is the Rocket stencil flock. And for the Cricut, I use the custom cut setting with more pressure, and for the Siser, I use the custom cut setting. I did 45 force and 10 speed. So the Siser for this one took 1 minute and 17 seconds, and the Cricut took 1 minute and 58 seconds. Not a major difference like the other ones, like double the amount, but a whole 40 seconds I think is still a lot. So here we have it, 5-0. The Siser Juliet takes the cake in being faster than the Cricut Explore. So now I'm gonna go ahead and weed all of these and see if the cutting actually makes a difference, because it's one thing to have the speed test, but it's another thing to see if it actually cuts right, you know, and see if there's a difference. So both of these machines have fairly new blades, so it's not like one is older than the other, you know, they're fairly the same, I would say. So I'm gonna go ahead and weed these, and then we're gonna come back and see if there's a difference between the two. And here's the regular HTV all weeded. We're gonna have the Cricut to the left and the Siser to the right. So design wise, both of these definitely look the same. No lines look smoother than the other. They both look the same. The only thing I will say, a big difference would have to be the way they weeded. The Cricut was definitely way easier to weed than the Siser, and I think the Siser was because of the cut setting. I guess the Easy Weed cut setting wasn't good enough for this HTV Ront HTV. I guess it's a little bit thicker than Easy Weed. So definitely play around with the test cuts and just make sure that it actually weeds the way it's supposed to, because when I was weeding this one, I was kind of having trouble. Like, this one was lifting, this little thing right here, can you tell? Ended up ripping the C right there, so definitely be careful. Yeah, look, you could tell the difference. That one is smooth and that one is broken. So you definitely have to play around with cut settings when it comes to stuff that isn't Siser brand, you know? So be mindful of that. But besides that, the design for these definitely look the same, so far so good. Next up, we have the glitter HTV. Both of these weeded nice nicely. I nailed it with the glitter HTV cut setting for this one because it weeded the way it was supposed to, you know. I didn't struggle like I did with the previous one. And design wise, both of these look identical. There's not one line that looks straighter than the other. Both of these look the same. It is kind of hard to tell when it comes to glitter because it is textured, but by looking at them closely, they definitely look like twins. Next we have the printable paper, and both of these for sure weeded very easily, but there is a slight difference. So for some reason, I have no idea why, the Siser one did not cut these little sections right here. Can you see the white? And this one right here, it's empty. So it did cut it in the Cricut one, but it didn't cut it in the Siser one. I guess I wasn't paying attention when I went ahead and uploaded it, but maybe that's why. I'm over here thinking that Siser like intentionally didn't cut those sections, but now that I'm thinking about it, I had two of these designs, one of them with the holes and one of them without. So maybe that's my fault. So okay, ignore that. But yeah, there is still another difference. So when it comes to the Cricut, this one, I'm not gonna lie, it is a pain to do print and cut because the way it doesn't want to collaborate sometimes. Is that the right word? Collaborate, you know, when it doesn't like cut where it's supposed to. So I always have struggle when it comes to that. So this one, can you tell right there, there's a little bit of white peeking through. So for both of these, I did 0 offset, so there was not gonna be a border whatsoever. So this one right here, there is some border on like the right part of the image, because as you could tell on the left side, it's not. So you could tell that the way the Cricut cut, it kind of like moved it a little bit. You know how it does that instead of actually being super precise. So this one, it was definitely not as precise because you see the whites going on right there. And now we have the Siser, and this one was definitely more precise than the Cricut because as you can see, there's definitely not as much white as this one right here. This one, I feel like the only white that you can see is this section right here, the right, but it's not as intense as this one. There's still some white showing right there, but it's not as major as this one right here, because I will say this one is millimeters bigger than this one. So this one isn't 100% precise, but it's still not as noticeable as this one. So I will say the whole calibration of each machine is what made this one slightly better and more precise than this one. And here is the adhesive vinyl. So both of these weeded practically the same, and just by looking at them, they do seem identical, but if you look really closely, there actually is some differences. So let me go ahead and zoom you in and show you what I'm talking about. So I hope you can see it. Pay attention to the wine glasses. Do you see this little curve right there? This one is a Cricut. It has like a little slight dent going on. And the Siser one is definitely super smooth. Also with the stem and all that, you see how straight this one is? And this one is kind of wonky and not as straight. And even these little splashes right here, you see there's like a little cut right there. And these are just straight up smooth and curvy. So that's definitely a difference. If you were to put this on a glass, obviously you wouldn't be able to tell because who's going to be paying attention like that. But this is a competition, and I'm showing you that the Siser one for the adhesive vinyl definitely cut way smoother than the Cricut one. And also with the lettering, do you see that bottom part? You see that little black piece right there is like sticking out. Then you have it right here, just smooth. So this one, I feel like the blade went like that and kind of stopped and then just went and just continued going. So these curves right here are less smooth and even than these right here. You have to really pay attention to it in order to spot it. Like maybe you're not as picky as me that can actually spot it, but yeah, just look at it. This one looks more even, and this one you can see that it's not as even. So for sure for the adhesive vinyl, the Siser Juliet cut way smoother than the Cricut Explore. Last but not least, we have the rhinestone flock. As you saw when it came to weeding, the Cricut one, these little circles decided to stay behind on the mat, and then the Siser one, this one just peeled right off and none of the circles came with it. So with this one, I had to weed it a second time and push out those little circles. So this one definitely didn't cut as well as this one did. I'm not exactly sure how similar each cut setting is with each other, but with this one, I did use more pressure, so I would assume that it would give it more pressure and actually cut it evenly, you know, but as you saw, not all of these circles stayed behind. And I did peel off the backing, so you would think that these would actually stick to the mat itself, you know, but clearly it didn't. But besides that, I'm not exactly sure, once again, if you can tell on camera. These little circles right here are just straight up circles. They look like perfect circles. But then we have these right here, and they just look like they're in the struggle bus. Some are like shaped weird, some have little corners, some have little like dips like that, so it's like a circle and then like a little thing going on like that. So a lot of these are pretty much uneven circles. I don't know if you can tell. Let me zoom you in and see if you can see it. So here we are a little bit closer, and I hope you can spot them now. You see those little corners right there, up there, right there. From afar, they look like circles, but if you really pay attention and compare it to these, they're definitely not circles. They're like lopsided circles. I'm sure they're still gonna work with the rhinestone flock, but we're being critical here. So for these two, this one for sure definitely cut way better than this one. So you could tell that the Juliet just has a more precise cutting when it comes to round shapes, you know? I can't believe how much the Siser beat out Cricut. Like, that's crazy. So I wrote down how much it beat it out by. So for the regular HTV, the Siser was 2 minutes and 32 seconds faster. For the glitter HTV, the Siser was 1 minute and 32 seconds faster. For the adhesive vinyl, the Siser was 37 seconds faster. For the inkjet iron-on and for the machine to read all the register marks, the Siser was faster by 40 seconds. I will say, dude, the Cricut one, I don't know why it takes so long. That one, it just took an eternity. I don't know why it always takes forever, but yeah, that one took longer. It was 40 seconds. I feel like with Siser, because it has a little camera, all it does is just lines up those little corners and it shows you that it's lining it up. So after it does that, it just, you know, goes to cutting. But with the Cricut one, I guess the light has to look for it. I don't know, but that one definitely takes way longer. So it was 40 seconds longer for it to read the register marks. And sometimes it doesn't even read it. That's a whole other story. But if you're using Cricut and you're using their print and cut, always make sure that your Cricut is like lit up. Because sometimes I've noticed, sometimes I'm like working in the dark and it just has a little light. And if it's not lit up, it won't read the register marks. So keep in mind, always have it lit up when you're doing that. And now for the entire cut for the inkjet iron-on, the Siser was 2 minutes and 15 seconds faster than the Cricut. And for the rhinestone flock, the Siser was 41 seconds faster than the Cricut. Dude, Siser beat Cricut by a landslide. Like, that's 5 for 5. They beat it out with 5 different materials. And even though Siser may have beat out Cricut when it comes to the speed test, I do kind of feel like the Cricut one might be more universal when it comes to cutting different branded materials. Because as you saw, I did struggle a little bit with the regular HTV that was cut on the Siser Juliet. I guess that one needed a little bit more pressure, but I have used the Siser Juliet to cut other regular HTVs before. But with that, it's pretty much been Siser Easy Weed, so their own brand itself. So obviously the cut settings are going to be the same because it was made for their own materials. Because that's pretty much the brand that I use all the time. I've never tested it out with other brands, so I never really noticed it till now because I did use a different brand, which was HTV Romp. So I didn't even notice that it might have been a little bit thicker than the Easy Weed. I didn't pay attention. I didn't think there was going to be a difference, but I guess there is. So definitely with the Siser Juliet, play around with the cut settings and do a test cut before cutting the whole thing. I still love both machines. I still use both machines. I'm a creature of habit, so I definitely tend to reach for the Cricut more than I do the Juliet. But I will say the Juliet one, hands down, is the best at print and cut. Dude, a few months ago, I had to do, I think, like 50 labels or something. I did some labels for like Tapia bottles. And I know that if I would have done it for Cricut, it would have taken forever. But I did it with the Juliet and it was my first time doing print and cut and I was super impressed. I don't even know what the differences were, but it just felt way faster. Everything was just way faster. And I know that if I would have done it with the Cricut, it would have taken me like 10 years. So I'm glad that I did it with the Juliet. So I'm glad that I have both machines because I feel like each of them serves something for me. If I want to do more intense projects that I know I wanted to be faster because it has more cuts or something like that, I'm gonna reach for the Juliet, and especially the print and cut. When I want something done, let's say last minute, I'm gonna reach for the Cricut. So each of them serve different purposes for me. So this video wasn't a comparison on which machine you should or shouldn't get. This was just a friendly competition on which one was faster. I personally love both. I use both. I'm gonna continue to use both. When it comes to figuring out what machine you want, you definitely have to look at other factors. You have to look at what type of materials they cut, the type of programs that they use, what can you do with the machine, the size of it, just different things, you know. Don't go based off just the speed. Yeah, speed is nice. The faster the better, but definitely look at other stuff and what it is that you exactly need because not everyone is the same. So definitely do your research when it comes to narrowing down what machine you want because these machines are not cheap. You want to get your money's worth, so definitely be mindful of that. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this little speed competition. Don't forget to leave me your thoughts in the comments. Give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're not already, and yeah, I'll catch you in my next video. Bye.